So last time we completed till these types of gurus and disciples. We'll start with general miscellaneous. Creation. The ultimate cause of creation is no doubt what we call the center. Let the philosophers come forward to explain it through reason and argument, but that will never be the correct basis. The correct understanding of it can be acquired only through practical experience and direct perception by a person of caliber who is swimming in the dreary waste of the infinite. And this can be the special privilege of only rare personalities like my master. Nobody has yet tried to trace the root of the existence of God. Well, before creation, there was only space all over. The being of God was a later development, and it took some time for its appearance. We see space as endless and eternal. So we conclude God as well to be eternal. Time followed after God had come into being. Thus, space served as a mother for the creation of God, and time was the negative state of it. Everything must thus have its end in endlessness. Motion was also there in everything, however dim or invisible it might be. One might as well question who created space then? The only possible answer can be that the need for the creation of God and of the universe came to be the cause of the existence of space. It is and shall ever be, and is therefore eternal. Why not then worship space instead? There is definitely a hint about it in Rigveda, but the mystery remains unsolved for want of precise clarification. If one develops within himself the state of Akasha, he has then reached the highest point, which corresponds to the final state of negation, which everyone must duly aspire for. The solution is no doubt wonderful and at the same time perfectly correct too. Akash or space is the absolute. It is not composed of particles, nor is there any action in it. It is perfectly pure and unalloyed. It is, of course, very difficult to bring it home to the minds of everyone. The theory may not correspond with the easy chair philosophy of the West. It may fairly be treated as a fresh supplement to the Vedas. Any questions? Akash is space, while Avkash is time, both widely different from each other. Time, the creation of space, may be taken as the grosser state of Akash. As a matter of fact, the universe is the manifestation of the time or Avkash, and God that of Akash or space. The inner circle led to the creation of God, and the outer one to the creation of the universe. The intervening portion is the duration. If the outer covering gets dissolved along with the intermediary portion, as it happens at the time of Mahapralaya, only Akasa or space remains. That is to say that the identity transforms into Akasha or in other words, the identity itself is Akasha.
What is this inner circle and outer circle means?
Yeah, that is what I'm trying to understand. The universe is says Akash is space while Avkash is time, both widely different from each other. Time, the creation of space, may be taken as the grosser state of Akash. As a matter of fact, the universe is the manifestation of time or Avkash, and God that of Akash or space. The inner circle led to the creation of God, and outer one to the creation of the universe. Intervening portion is the duration. If the outer covering gets resolved along with the intermediary portion, as it happens at the time of Mahapralaya, only Akash or space remains. And that is to say that the identity transforms into Akash, or in other words, the identity itself is Akash. What I feel is talking more as one inner circle led to the creation. So manifestation of time or avkash, because when we are talking about space, space is timeless, eternal, and earlier Master said that there is no even movement. And then when we created time, what we are saying is it's in a particular time period, right? And we are making it limited. And that is where it says the intervening portion is the duration. So when we are talking about time, so obviously there comes a duration. And once this gets dissolved, then what remains is only space. That is what I understand. Does that make sense, Subodh?
Yeah.
Anyone else wants to add? Because I think this is a lot related to the experience, and this is where I won't be able to comment even if on these things that much. Yeah. We'll go ahead. Nectar of divine life. When the soul is put on the clothing of body, then alone its reverse form appeared in the form of covering. That is, all this thing became a robe which had come in its own form, having developed many knots. Dear brother, along with the soul, we have revived its reverse form in the beginning itself. One sec. When the soul put on the clothing of body, then alone its reverse form appeared in the form of covering. That is, all this thing became a robe which had come in its own form, having developed many knots. Dear brother, along with the soul, we have revived its reverse form in the beginning itself. Have you not seen that the flare is doubled by the union of fire and water? and that if the air enters in it, then it begins even to flash, and the flare too grows proportionately. What is this flare? These are different actions of Prakriti which are created on the force of soul. Now, in these things, that is the play of earth, air, water, and fire, which came before the vision. The vision never went towards that which was the real thing. Just imagine what was it that created in them due to wrong use a condition in which the real thing was action was behind the wheel did not come up before the vision, nor could it be understood as to why that had to do such action whose result was destruction. The cause of the action was that the real thing, along with that will of creating the world, got mixed up with the will of self to create the world. Now, the thought of multiplicity, that is, the creation of Srishti, is the reverse of oneness, or these two things are opposite in one another in a way. In other words, this other thing which is said to have been made out of the effect of the will is grosser than its original. But both these things came so closely joined together that these jointly accelerated the thought of the creation of Srishti, and similarly their action was also similar to that which happens by the union of fire and water.
This is difficult to understand actually.
Yeah. I think that is where I think we can just wait. But if I look at it in terms of, it talks more about the will of self to create the world. So the moment we started understanding us as a different from others, the original will or the things was there in us because we have come from the real thing. And with that will, here as it talks example of the fire and water and then air. So different actions of Prakriti. So that means more in terms of the materialistic things or matter, which are created on the force of soul. And the idea is that now we are removing all those things that we have created um, on our soul. Here it just describes how those things got created. And again, yeah, it is more just to understand it intellectually, but it is more, I think we'll need to experience this. We'll go ahead. We brought soul from nature, in which there was mixed consciousness also. And this consciousness was the effect of that will of self, due to which the forms got manifested. Now, the effect of our will is that we also made the things with us conscious by giving them power by our thought. What was there before? The same, which is different from soul. The quality of soul is peace, and the quality of body, which is reverse of soul, is the reverse of peace. But its makers are we alone, and This is our own doing. Now, the flare alone, as explained above, which is created due to this karma of ours, is ashanti, trouble and pain. If ever we get the ability to stop giving power to that thing, then its condition will be just like the plants which are not given water. Now, how is this possible? If we divert our thought, which is now turned towards materialism and the body towards the soul, then these things which are created in the form of troubles due to our actions will gradually fade out. And the effect which is created due to turning the vision towards the soul will influence that also. Gradually, by purification, its condition will be such that the flare will begin to vanish, and its condition will be that which is due to conscious diverting of the consciousness towards the soul, which it had from will and life. So I'm hoping that at least now this is giving a bit more clarity. You're on mute, Subodh.
Can you summarize, because I thought I'm lost actually.
Okay, so just I think this one sentence is we should understand. Now the flare alone, as I explained about, which is created due to this karma of ours, is ashanti, trouble and pain. So if we understand the cause of our trouble and pain or cause of our ashanti is the karma or the actions that we had created on our own. So initially he gives example of body as put the clothing around the soul. Right? So if you think, if you want to think in one way, right? I have this t-shirt. If I consider myself as this t-shirt and not the body, then I will be worried about only this t-shirt more than the body. Whereas, okay, this t-shirt is there, which is for kind of protecting me from the cold. And if I'm looking it more as a covering, which is just there, then I understand the separateness of it, and I'm not worried too much in terms of this t-shirt. So same way, if you see, the quality of soul is peace, and the quality of body, which is reverse of soul, is the reverse of peace. So the more we are focused on our body, the more it will be ashanti, because then we are worried about कि ये body कब खत्म होगा, right? खत्म हो गया तो मेरा क्या होगा, because I am the body. Right? If there is a cold, then we always wish that it should not be too cold. If there is a heat, then we wish that it should not be too hot. If someone pricks us, then again there is a pain, and then because of that pain, we are disturbed. We think of satisfying our body with the five senses, that okay, since I am the body, I need to satisfy with my with viewing something, with listening to some things. So that is creating more and more disturbances in our mind, or the vrittis in our mind, which is the reverse of peace. So that is the main thing for us to understand. And now what needs to be done is, if we divert our thought, which is now turned towards materialism and the body towards the soul. So instead of our thought being focused on the materialistic things and the body, the more it gets diverted to soul. And this is something that happens in each and every pranahuti session where our thought force is diverted towards God or soul. So the more we attend pranahuti sessions, we feel that connection, we feel our real nature, which is the soul. And the nature of that is peace. The quality of soul is peace. So we feel that peace. I'm sure that you would have felt that it's in today morning's satsang. All of you would have attended the satsang and you would have felt peace. So when we understand that this peace is our real nature, and then when you think of it, right? Okay, I came out after satsang, and then as we were driving back, right? Then again, as we are driving back, we are seeing the things here and there on the different advertisements and the other things. So then again, our attention goes towards materiality. And then as I came back home and then again started thinking about the book reading, so again the attention now gets diverted to the master, and we are in the master's thought where we are not worrying about our materiality in terms of, okay, our money or the family members or the pain or the heat or cold and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that explains. And then what we are doing is then the gradually it will fade out, right? By turning our vision towards the soul and gradually by the purification. So the more and more we purify ourselves, we apply our will. So we applied our will to create karma, right? Now we apply our will to purify ourselves. That will help us to get back to the soul or the in terms of the peace. Anyone wants to add or ask?
No, just to add a couple of points, you're absolutely right. We have created this prapancha, like, Madhava Garu was mentioning in one of the other sessions. With our own will. That's what he says. It's basic metaphysics of Babuji and the Upanishadic mystics. So we have created our own network, to use his words, and then by paying it, we need to destroy the network with our will. How do we do that? Using our will, we turn the attention to the soul. And all the other rest of the network, because they're not getting enough nutrition, because all the nutrition that these thoughts and thought forms get is from our will. So when we are not paying attention to them, then they will wither away. Like he says here in the first page, like dried weeds. If you don't pay attention, don't put enough water to them, they'll wither away. So our way of turning towards the soul or God or Purusha essentially destroys the power of these things, and the prapancha falls apart, and only he remains. He uses the same metaphors over and over again in multiple places. That's my basic understanding. This metaphysics so easy to understand. So practical is more difficult.
Not that easy to practice.
The practical is more difficult, right? Metaphysics we can apply our mind. We all have. That's my understanding.
Yeah. So this, if we see commandment 4, right? The first part of commandment 4, where he talks about before like going to Jamila, right? He talks about how the mental vrittis has created the conflicting thoughts, right? He says, "Ek कवि कह रहा है कि हवाखोरी को चलो, means go for a walk in the morning. दूसरा कह रहा है कि बाहर ठंड ठंड बहुत है, सर्दी हो जाएगी." So these are the conflicting vrittis. But if you read that commandment 4, even before that, how where it talks about how the mind came into existence and how it started thinking as a separate thing. And then when we are talking about mind, Master says that it is a manas, chitta, buddhi and ahankar. So buddhi and ahankar, so the sense of separateness and the intellect, that started diverting or feeling ourselves separate from God or separate from the universal mind. Whereas if we see, Sir writes in the article, no doubt the world will be paradise, where he says that what we think of our mind is something that we have borrowed from thousands of people around ourselves. It's like a fluid. We don't even know how many people or how the consciousness is affecting our mind. The main thing is, as we understand that, and after that comes more in terms of the physical form and all the senses and then the sense satisfaction. But the main thing is the origin of all that is from the mind. And then we have to go even beyond that. And that is where, when it is not there, then we are just one, or there is no time or space. It's just a space, right? And there is no movement.
Bhaiya, I just wanted to add one more point. Dr. Madhav has mentioned this during our the Chitle program also. While we are going through this process of paying attention to the divine light, so thoughts come, thoughts go. I think the either the raga dvesha, either liking a particular thought or averting that particular thought, right? So we tend to do that a lot. Some thoughts we love, we like, and then some thoughts we have a strong feeling that, hey, but I should not get these thoughts. I shouldn't. Maybe we have indulged this in the past and they're coming, but we give power to those by our aversion also. So I think one practical point that you had mentioned is that like raga dvesha, while you're going through this process, that is why Masterji said, treat them as uninvited guests or treat them as things coming and going, or a wave that is rising and then falling off. So don't give too much attention to them. They're coming to go out. So I think if we keep with that feeling or attitude, then this raga dvesha will slowly go away.
Yeah. So that is what it, right? Gradually the effect will fade out because we are not watering them.
Yeah.
Right? The thing is, when you look at the origin of raga dvesha, it is our intellect, right? With the intellect and with the sense of ahankar that created that. This is good for me, this is not good for me.
Yeah.
And
correct. The source is there, and that is where we...
Yeah. And the lesser we focus on that, then it helps. And just as Balu was talking of metaphysics, I was reading, I think, on this commentary of on the Patanjali's Raj Yoga. Nowadays, if you see, right, we are too much into viewing the things, hearing the things, right? And or when you look at the world around, right, a lot of people like to watch so much of TV, web series, OTT, YouTube, and other things. Now, if you look at it from the metaphysics perspective, what we are getting so much attached with is just the different color combinations and different sound combinations. It's just that the different color combinations and the sound combinations are creating so much emotions, vrittis, influencing our thoughts. And it's easy to understand that it's just the different color combination and sound combinations. If you visualize our old theater, right, where there was a projector and there were some waves that was being projected, and if you are sitting in the theater and when you look up, you will be able to see some color particles from projector to coming to the screen. Right? So when we think from that perspective, we understand how foolish we are. It's just the amount of color combinations, how much we are getting attached to that, and like how much raga and dvesha we are forming about these things. So it just helps, just gives a perspective.
That's a very good
analogy. Very good analogy.
Absolutely. Like Srinivas Garu was saying, that's a very good example. Yesterday, I also attended USA book reading. In that, Dr. Madhava was saying, so exact example that Dharmesh Bhai was giving us, where if you look at a theater and somebody is looking at from an audience seat, he will see all these images. But if you look at it laterally, if you're standing outside and watching the audience react to stuff on the screen, and you know the projector as well, when you change your perspective, it looks very funny, odd that you're crying or laughing, which is amazing. That's the same example again. Also, initially, when there was no difference between that unity or center or God or whatever you want to call it, nature, providence, and everything else, us, then there was nothing. But as soon as we identified ourselves as separate, which is the first veil, that's called avidya in traditional language. All I learned is from Narayan Garu and Madhava and people like this. So my limited knowledge, that first veil is ego. Once you get that ego, then you start creating your own samsara. Like God's energy or God's same power is with that little ego that is isolated with that veil around it, and it starts creating its network, which is us, the jiva. Then once you turn your attention back and all this goes away, it dissolves, or whatever happens, and there's unity. And we experience that multiple times during meditation. But my question yesterday was, after having glimpses of that, why do we forget, right? It is so real when it's happening, and when I come back to life, so it takes a lot of practice to be in that place. I know the answer basically is to slowly, I don't know why it happens, but slowly over time, I'm hoping that will be longer and longer, and we'll feel that connection or lack of barrier for longer. Hopefully all this will come to, and raga dvesha are essentially coming from ego. Whenever you have, when you have a separateness, ego is just an idea of separateness from the whole. Once you have that, you will have likes and dislikes, and you will have desires. Same desires and likes and dislikes are the same. You want your headache to go away, it's desire. It does not need to be a Porsche car or whatever.
And
yeah, go ahead.
Balu, sir, Dr. Madhav has addressed this. I've asked the same question. He actually, because he's also a doctor and a scientist at heart, scientist also. So he very clearly enunciated this. He said, basically, we are hardwired, right? From thousands of years of evolution, we are hardwired in our brains to protect and procreate, right? That is the basic qualities of this thing, right? Any organism is to protect and procreate, multiply. So he's saying that we are fundamentally in our brains we're hardwired, right? So we look external because we're all the time making sure, predators or, these things are not attacking us, right? So that's why we are externally visualized. So, and that he said that hardwiring is a bruhat karyam. I mean, that is what's happening with pranahuti. He's saying for a common man, that is where it becomes the most difficult part, because they cannot rewire themselves, right? It's very difficult unless the divine consciousness itself turns it towards the divine, right? That is why the Lalaji Maharaj is that Bruhat Karyam, we have to think over and over again what was done, because this hardwiring is a very difficult thing for us to. But what he told me was, you have to go soft on yourself, meaning don't beat yourself, right? Like during this process. This is as Master said here also, gradually, right? When he says gradually, it is a process. It takes time, right? And he was telling me, for your tummy to grow, it took 2 years or 3 years, let's say, right? But then when we want to reduce the tummy, we want it done in like 2 months, 3 months, right? We want a quick fix. We want to get things done. So I think that understanding from him really helped me to be more patient in terms of, this is the world. This is how the world is. This is how we are all hardwired. And we are turning against that. He mentioned in a Chitlek also, this requires the neural networks to be reformed.
Yes.
Right? That is why in our system, he said, Master was so intelligent to give us only one method all throughout the practice. It's only one thought, right? The presence of divine light. It is not like as you're gradually moving, the thoughts are changing. It's one thought which is constantly getting seeded. And that seeding will take the neural network or the connections to take into effect. And then one day that transforms, or that, it just shifts. There's like a shift that happens. So until that shift is happening, be kind to yourself. Sorry, I didn't mean soft. Be kind to yourself, because this is how the nature is. We are wired like that.
That's a very important suggestion for people like me as well. If I do bad thoughts, my tendency is to essentially beat myself up and say, why are these coming? And that's very, very important suggestion. But just, that's a beautiful explanation, and thank you for reminding me of that. But when you, for example, when you mistake a snake for a rope, a rope for a snake, as soon as you know it's not a snake, that illusion is gone, right? This illusion is persistent. You have seen the rope, and you still immediately flip back to thinking it's a snake. Anyway, but that explanation is absolutely
very, So I think this is where, right? Sir used to stress a lot on the owning the condition, and so. Like this time also, right, when we met in Hyderabad after the satsang, right, Dr. Madhava said, right, once you start speaking, and if you are into the unnecessary things, you will lose the condition. So if you see, after satsang, we are in that state of peace. So the nature of soul is peace. So and then as we get involved into watching other things and those things, the peace gets disturbed. And then we are into the body, because as soon as we come out of meditation, we are not feeling the body, and then we start feeling the body. So I think that's the only way to speed up more in terms of our owning up the condition and breaking off the earlier hardwiring that is there. And one way to look at it, since we were taking the example of a movie being projected on a screen, The screen is not affected by it. The screen is completely white, pure. It is just for the moment that things are being played on it, where the screen is not even aware what is being played on that. And if we look at it from that perspective, the soul as the screen or completely unattached with these things, then we will be able to understand that how much we are getting entangled by confusing ourselves with what is being projected on us, but what is not our real nature. So again, some of these explanations are from that Patanjali's Raj Yoga, Edwin Brand's book. So yeah, he talks about, gives good examples, which kind of strikes the, at least it struck me quite a few of these examples.
True, bhai.
So let's go ahead. The creation came into being immediately after the advent of consciousness. We became just like a weak patient who is given the tonic, as a result of which he starts more indulgence. And due to that, indulgence again begins to suffer on the deathbed. There was nothing wrong in the tonic given, but the fault lay in its wrong and improper use, and the pain took such shape that the necessity of medicine began to be felt acutely. I say again that if there were no disease, none would have remembered the health which was in the beginning. Only the patient can value health with regard. By getting liberation from this alone, the symptoms of health are created. We'll go forward. You will ask how the things which are called troubles or the reverse of the original get power. The answer is that the power of consciousness or Chaitanya Shakti makes them powerful in proportion to our paying attention to them. Gradually, so much force is created that that thing appears to overpower us or our thought. The same is the case with bhakti, devotion, or worship. If we divert our attention towards the original, towards God, then because God Himself is power, the power begins to come in bhakti also. Then this other power, namely the power of God, begins to descend, and the undesirable things automatically begin to grow weak. Since these things are under us, we give them power. And because that thing is under God, it receives power from there. What is the purport? If we turn our interest towards God in the real sense, then all these things fade out in the end, and gradually the result will be that condition which Lord Krishna has described. What is that condition? Man begins to feel himself actionless, and this condition, when it grows and reaches a high level, stops the formation of impressions or sanskaras. And if one ever stepped into this condition and went on further, then what remains? One part of it will be what is called the state of liberation in one's lifetime, called Jivan Mokshagati. What a word which people are trying to prove in many ways. But, dear brother, what a light and easy thing it is. And be assured, to attain this alone is very easy. Easy thing is always attained quite automatically or easily. So here we see we are giving power to our thoughts, Since we are talking about body and talks about the suffering and the deathbed and the health, right? You can see how much now, when we see the people, right, how much people are obsessed with the body and how much of the attention is to just preserve the body. Body should not get hurt. I should not look aged. I will dye my hair or I will grow my hair or again, fat to having the good, not becoming lean. So how much attention is on the health or the body, and which is making us, keeping us disturbed. It is the sure way to be Ashanti. And then when we are talking about diverting the attention towards the God, the important thing to note here, it is the God gives the power to that thought. Right? Because that thing is under God, it receives the power from there. And that is why it is more powerful. The only thing is we need to divert the attention towards that. Our power is, our thought power is not that powerful, but when we receive it from God, it really helps us. And then he goes on to explain the condition of Jivan Moksha Gati, actionless. Anything to add? The thing is so easy that if tried, it can very easily be achieved by multitudes. The way of achieving this condition has generally been told by folk who really do not know the path, nor have they ever tried through somebody who had really entered this kind of sphere in life. They seek the remedy with the persons who are fresh enough merely to speak always on the subject. They are moved greatly by the people who speak extempore on the platform. The real thing is in the innocent hearts of the persons who have mastered nature, so to say. Rarely will people find this thing. Why? Because they do not try to gain the simple thing by a simple method. May the day dawn when the people may taste this nectar of real life, unattainable even for devatas. People are busy thinking always of their own tales. Sit in loneliness for some time and think of God with at least as much power as you have bestowed to your own difficulties. What then? It is as easy to realize your own God as it is to realize the worldly things in crude form. This is a very good thing where Master says it is very easy. Because we feel that many times we feel this is difficult, and that is also a limiting thought or that we are harboring, or it will take a long time for us to do. Whereas he says that, yeah, just sit quietly and think about God with as much as power, that much we are thinking in terms of our worldly things.
So when he say think of God, it is like the creator is what we have to think, or
yeah, you can think about creator, you can be on the divine light in the heart. So what we are doing in the meditation, so our way of looking at it is the form of God as a divine light, right? Which is in the heart. So God is in our heart, right? It says that realize your own God. Right? So we are realizing the God within us. So even in the free time, if we just turn our attention to the heart, and we'll feel the thought of divine light in the heart.
One more suggestion that he has given us somewhere else about the chapter of constant remembrance is to think about all-pervading God. He's everywhere, right? He's also in our heart. He's outside us. He's inside the body, outside the body. He's immanent. If it like a gold ornament, gold is inside the ornament, right? He's like the gold, and we are like ornaments, various ornaments. So you have to try and realize that this is a good example. Somebody was mentioning as well. I think it was again possibly Dr. Madhava, where he's everywhere and in everything, solid as well as subtle, and all pervading. That idea of God is very, very useful, is what Master says. And whenever you have free time, he says, think about that all-pervading presence, if you want to call it that. And that's a good pastime as well as good constant remembrance.
Yeah. God is pervading everywhere and everyone is absorbed in its remembrance. So if you do that, I would really encourage you to try that and experience. I feel suddenly a lot of peace whenever I do that. And in the free time, if when I'm traveling back from office to home, in the shuttle, in the cab, I just remember the master, focus on the heart. Immediately there is peace. Immediately it brings the calmness. Identity. As regards identity, I may say that it can better be presumed to be something like a fine idea which subsequently develops into thought. It is very difficult to convey its exact sense. One may, however, take it to mean that which brings into our cognizance consciousness of the origin, or as a slightly grosser form of the original consciousness, or in other words, as reality garbed in somewhat grosser covering. The grosser form strikes in our heart an idea that there must be something beyond which serves as a cause to bring it into being. One might thereby be led to the conclusion that that too, in its turn, must have a cause of its own. The sequence of cause and effect may thus continue till one might come up to the point where the sequence too gets out of our consciousness. Logically, one might as well say that even this must have a cause, but then it is all beyond human comprehension. Suffice it to say that at its finest level, it is denoted as identity. Every embodied soul must have an identity which, at higher levels, is finer and subtler. The subtler the identity, the more powerful shall the person be in life. Just trying to explain more where the intellect fails to understand, right? In terms of going into cause and effect, and then what remains.
If you meditate, you will understand it. I mean, you feel it actually. So it's a question of density of consciousness, right from absolute zero to, grosser thing. After the ego goes away, then it becomes finer and finer and finer. So you cannot have several words to describe the whole range, no? So using only one word, that's all. So suppose air, if you're going 100 kilometers above the earth, it becomes rarer and rarer. Suppose a distance of 1 meter is there, or 10 meters, the air is dense, less dense when compared with the one below that. So you can't give two names to that. So just using the word identity for that kind of a consciousness which is lighter in this thing. There's no limit to that negation, no? That's why it's called Anantya. So it has, if you meditate, you will feel it, but intellectually you cannot think about it. Intellect, it is just like it cannot go about itself. It cannot think about the cause which has given rise to intellect. Intellect can think something other than itself, but it is not capable of thinking about the cause which gives birth to intellect. So intellect's learner waste. So you are only creating obstructions in your understanding, actually, in your feeling that reality, actually. Okay, next you read. We'll finish it now.
Yeah. Some are of the opinion that avatars do not have an identity. I do not agree with them, since if they had no identity, they could not have worked bodily for the accomplishment of the task allotted to them. For their work, they stand in need of a physical body which admits of growth and development. So the identity is absolutely essential for them as it is for anyone else. Identity remains in existence till the time of Mahapralaya, when it loses its individuality or identity and merges into one common identity, which later serves as the cause of the next creation. Thus, it is the individuality that ends and not the identity. It is so because of the dormant action at the root or the center, where the difference between being and non-being is but nominal.
ये सब philosophy है. अपन philosophy में गए तो unnecessary we'll get into complications. We should have a practical idea whether your mind is under your control or not. Whether you are the master of your mind or not. वो लगा लिया तो all other questions will get solved on their own when you require that knowledge or information. तो फालतू में speculate करने का जरूरत नहीं है.
Yeah. Right.
Or anything else? Any questions regarding? Though I was not listening to the whole talk.
Balu, Srinivas, anything? Yeah. Then yeah, we'll meet next Sunday.
Next Sunday. Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.